What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another weekly update. And for this past week, we've had a lot of blood in the water, but Fang has definitely just pulled away. Big tech is just pulled away and separated itself from everything else, which is something that we have seen not too long ago. We do have a lot of bullishness in the market. A lot of things are looking good. Inflation is said to be leaving here in Q2 of next year, uh, which is causing the Fed to actually start talking about possibly revisiting rate raises in December. And so, that being said, that might start bringing some fear into the market a little bit. We do need a little bit of a sell off. We just had earnings, so we need to kind of have a pullback, something I've been talking about. As you can see, the market has just gone straight up. I mean, we saw this parabolic move in Bitcoin as well. Bitcoin's actually starting to pull back, but the market is not. But it is topping out here. We're having a really hard time trying to make all time highs. Last time we did this and rattled around, we did end up selling off and pulling back. And as you can see right here, actually, we struggled for a couple days, about a week's period, and then we started doing some selling. Again, I think we're looking forward to that, kind of giving that leeway, especially because next week we do have a short week. It is Thanksgiving week, so the volume will be low. Being said, you'll probably get your most action on Monday, and then the volume will slowly die down throughout the week. We do have Zoom on Monday. But before we get too carried away, I want to go ahead and pull this up. Kind of look what we got here. So we do have earnings on Monday. Events this week, I think, because of the low volume, we do have a lot of data coming out this week. Something to keep in mind. Even though the data I don't have listed here on the events, I'll just kind of highlight some of the more important data to be looking at this week, especially with the inflation talks. We have core inflation on Wednesday, the 5-year inflation expectations on Wednesday, and FOMC minutes on Wednesday. Again, and then we have Thanksgiving, obviously, and then we have the market is open on Friday, but the volume will be low. So, being said, there is a lot of catalyst going into this week to sell. That's not saying that we can't gap up Monday and possibly have a really strong Monday and then start dying off on Tuesday or possibly die off midday Monday. Again, this is why I do daily updates. Again, this is why I also give out information on my Twitter handle, which is Beta Memoirs. If you don't follow me there, every morning I try to give a morning like a pre-market talk to try to let you give you my insight on what I'm seeing in the market, any news, anything that has changed since Sunday night. Again, because it really matters. Overnight sessions matter. A lot can happen. The market can completely change its direction in an overnight session. So again, this week, not really looking for too much. Again, because of the low volume and everything and all the data that's coming out. And then we also have the debt ceiling that is coming back up on December 15th. So yes, we do have a month from there. It's not something I'm really concerned about this week, but you do need to be aware of it because when that starts coming up, I think you're going to start seeing a lot more volatility come right back, perhaps the week before. So start looking that first week of December. So we might get a little bit of a pullback this week, and we might get a nice run going into that last week. And then aside from that, in December, we might have that nice little run in the beginning of the week. And then after that, I think we're going to start seeing some volatility again. So again, this week, I think majority of your volume is going to be on Monday. And then aside from that, it's going to be being essentially look for that first hour window this week. If there's no plays within that, I think what you're going to be doing is battling a lot of chop. So keep that in mind. Trade lighter. I wouldn't do a lot of swing trades, in my opinion. I mean, we've kind of seen that playing this junk over the past couple of days. If you played any mid caps, small caps, there's been some that have run, there's some that have not. So majority of everything has been just selling. A lot of the money has been gobbled up by big tech. So before we go into that any further, let's look at Bitcoin real quick. Bitcoin's been selling. As far as my opinion on Bitcoin, we have the daily here. We're kind of bouncing off the 57 the 5,700 mark. Could kind of see us come down almost to the 53 mark here, which is right here, the support down here, and still be bullish on the markets. I mean, I think we could actually come down a little bit further than that. But being said, this is a good support. We're hitting the 50 on the daily. I could see us reversing from this point. It'd be really keen to watch Bitcoin over the weekend to see what it does. If it does start to become bullish, if there's any inflation talks. Again, there's been a lot of talk about inflation and it going away. So typically Bitcoin's was guided by inflation, but we have to also understand that NFTs and also not just NFTs, but the gaming space is really starting to grow on blockchain. And so that is starting to affect, although Bitcoin has kind of been the gauge from this point. I think you're going to start seeing a separation further along. The strength won't be so much in Bitcoin anymore. You're going to start seeing more strength in different other coins, gaming coins and altcoins and stuff. Institutions will start investing more in that particular aspect as opposed to Bitcoin, just like the regular market is today. So the way you see gold, right? So gold doesn't typically move too much. We're going to start seeing that more in Bitcoin. Now it's becoming more stable because there's more mass adoption. And so being said, I think you're going to see that. And the reason I talk about Bitcoin so much is because it is going to affect all of the economy. And I think everybody needs to understand that. It is already being, again, massively adopted by these major corporations. And then you got the metaverse as well that is playing, essentially running in parallel with that as well. So, and which will affect all these companies down the road and much sooner than you would think. So going into this week, actually, let me pull this back up. I'm looking at Tesla, Facebook. A lot of these are major ones that already have strength that really haven't pushed. They've pushed some, but not too much. Tesla started to get momentum again. Facebook started to get momentum towards the end of the week. Apple, obviously, they've come out. There was a report talking about the Apple car, and that it's going to like double the revenue. So it saw a lot of strength on Friday. Look for that continuation on Monday. I know a lot of calls. Most of the calls coming in on Friday were for Aapl. Rivian, I think, could bounce back. There was some bad news midday on Friday, essentially talking about, I guess, the inspection Amazon was doing on the Rivian vehicles, that the battery wasn't lasting as long as they thought it would. So that actually caused Rivian to dip. It could also be a false report. Nobody's actually sure. That rumor hasn't really been proven, but it did enough to affect the market. So I want to see how Rivian does on Monday. And then SC has been beaten down. UPST has been beaten down. BYND has been beaten down. I like beaten down stocks. And so I'll start looking at these and see if they base, see if the market starts to sell. If these hold, I'm looking to build positions in these for a couple smaller swings going forward. So the first one we got is Tesla. And we had a wedge break here. Nice little push towards Friday's close. And what I'm actually looking for on Monday is looking for a retest, hoping we'll probably hit that 1117 mark and probably bounce off that. If not, I can see us actually coming back all the way down to the 20 EMA on the daily, so the 1064, and then getting a bounce off that and continuing to new all-time highs. Depending on the market is, again, as long as the strength stays within FANG, I think that's what we're going to see going forward. Then you'll start seeing that disperse out a little bit more. People are going more to the innovation right now because of the massive gains, the massive amounts of money that these companies are making in improving essentially our lives, right? So the innovation is really helping, especially during the pandemic. And so they're separating from a lot of these other companies, and you're seeing a lot of these other companies that were good companies before the pandemic are really getting beat down because of this fact. And then, we started having lockdown talks again in Europe. And if that is anything in the foreseeable future, we have to understand that if they do lock down, that it probably be about a month's time before the U.S. locks down again. So that's something you need to keep in mind, and could dramatically affect the market. And then you start seeing a lot of strength going into the at-home plays again as well. Now you have Facebook, which is the other one I'm looking at. This actually had a nice wedge. It broke out, retesting. Definitely want it to hold essentially above this 343 mark. This might have been the entry here on Friday, but we want to see how it plays. We might actually be developing a new range here. And Facebook does like to build these ranges, much like Tesla. It'll build consolidation for a while, and then it'll start breaking up. This has been consolidating for a long time and trying to break up for a while. That bad news for those couple months, I think it was like 2 months, is just, or a month straight, is just bad news. And it sold off pretty heavily. So I'm looking for this to try to stay above this 342 mark and then start looking for all-time highs. We are hitting a hard ceiling here at the 353 mark, so it really needs to get above there. If we can get a daily candle above that point, we're definitely going for all-time highs, I think, at that point. But we have to see how that plays out this week. Again, the volume is going to be low, so I'm not expecting too much. Trying to stay with strength. Apple, again, massive day on the news of doubling their revenue just because of the Apple Car. This may be a good one just to play. It definitely, I'm looking for a retest, essentially around this 159 mark. I want to see how this actually plays out come Monday. And again, these are, for me, they're going to be primarily scalp plays. So you're kind of looking at the 158 mark. You don't want it to break the 158 mark. So we're looking for a retest on this, get in possibly in the morning. We might see it sell off on Monday, come pre-market Monday, and then look for continuation on this. I think Apple's got a lot of strength. It has been consolidating for a long time. Once it starts to break out, it really starts to move. Rivian is the other one. This one actually looked really good. I actually caught this move, majority of this move today, sold right here, right at the 140 mark. And then we got that news about Amazon and it just sold off. As long as it holds essentially that 120 mark, that daily, look to get back into this and then try to see if it'll push back up to the 140, break the 140. If we could do that, we do have some more resistance up here around that 148 mark. But if we can continue up, I think we could test all-time highs again with this one, especially with all the EV news and the positive infrastructure bill that had just got passed. So I do really like Rivian, but again, I want to see what happens with that news and if we do continue to sell. Again, this is something, if it is an issue with Amazon, you definitely want to be careful. You don't want this breaking down past that 120 mark. Just enter from that point and then keep a tight stop and see where it goes from that point. But I think Rivian is going to continue on forward. SC is the other one I got. The reason I like this one is because it's holding this base. It's been holding this about that 308 mark. So 308, I think, would be a good entry on this. You definitely don't want it breaking below this. And then look to play the range. If it pushes up to 320 is my price target on this. If it does hit that point, definitely keep a tight stop. Look for it to break there. If it can break, we can start moving back up. Again, we have a lot of resistance to get back through. If not, if it does break this, I'm actually looking for it to come back down to the 200 for reversal. So we're looking around that 288 mark. If it does get to that point and holds that point, you could get a nice first bounce if you're doing intraday or a one-day swing. You probably get a good play out of this for that. Aside from that, I want to keep this one on watch. UPST. Now this one has been interesting. It's been trying to build bases and it keeps breaking down, but it is actually close to that 200, which I do like. Would like it closer to 200, but we really have to see. We could get a good initial bounce here. I didn't actually catch this at the 205 today, but if it does hold this, I want to definitely get into this and try to catch that first bounce, see if it's the reversal. So I definitely want to try to get it around the 200 mark, 205 mark. Again, I don't want it to break this 200 EMA. If it does break this, it's pretty much a goner at that point. You kind of just let it fall and then start basing again before you get another position. But it has been doing this base drop. So, but it hasn't been selling off too crazy, which is nice to see. So I think it's just trying to find a new base. Once it does, I think it will have a nice reversal going forward. And then the last one I do have is BYND. Now BYND, there's been a lot of, I mean, this stock has really been hit and smashed down, especially from the IPO. It had some crazy runs up to 200 a couple different times, twice, two major explosive runs. It still has a contract. It still has a contract with McDonald's. So being said, I think this one will still pop back at some point here. So the 75 mark, I really want to watch. I want to kind of see if a base is here. I definitely don't want it if it does break that, but you can at least with a price target of 84. So that's what I'm kind of looking for on this one. I'm looking more for a shares position on this. The contracts don't really play as well. If you add time to the contracts, it would help. But I definitely want to keep this on watch, especially since it's looked like it's basing here. I want to try to get an entry here again because it allows me to keep a tight spot. I do like beating down stocks because normally if they are beaten down a lot, then they start basing. They can make up some of the best moves in the market by doing that. And especially coming like this, Beyond Meat, I think is still a great company. They're still hemorrhaging some losses and everything, but as far as the plant-based side, I think it definitely captures that market, and so I think it can definitely make its way back and start pushing forward. So one thing I want to keep on watch. But if you've made it this far, remember to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so. Until next time, I will see you guys later.